Hello and welcome to the Great Big Money Experiment, where I try to prove financial freedom is possible for everyone by attempting to obtain it myself. This is the second video for the month. The first video was a monthly update and a discussion about cash flow. In this video, I will talk about the next step in financial freedom, which is debt repayment. We will also go over 2 new tools I've made at the end of the episode. I've never had a bad relationship with debt. Because of this, I reckoned it would be a good idea to read a book about the subject. The book I read was The Debt-Free Spending Plan. I'll link it in the description. And please, if this is available for free from your local library, get it there. I can recommend this book to anyone who wants to take control of their spending, whether they are in debt or not. I was surprised to find that the book followed more or less the same sequence of steps in obtaining financial freedom as I've presented here before. So I will now go over the lessons I've learned in order of how they relate to the journey to financial freedom. Before you begin, you should know this. No one is coming to save you. That's a line straight from the book 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. It's all up to you to make the changes you want. No one else is responsible for your financial freedom or any other aspect of your life. Start simple and incrementally. Just begin. Begin today. This piece of advice is also applicable to everything you do in your lifetime. Just begin with whatever your goal is and adjust as you go along. Analysis is good and necessary, but overanalyzing isn't helpful. If you start, don't analyze the past. In the case of money, don't try to figure out what you've spent your money on yesterday or the day before. Start clean and start today. When it comes to managing your money, there is one thing you want to achieve, and that is clarity. Clarity about your expenses, a clear plan for your future expenses, and clarity of how you will repay your debts and invest your money. Planning is a part of clarity, but it's useful to think of them as two unrelated concepts for this purpose. You have to be able to plan for everything you want to spend your money on. When starting out, planning and managing daily needs takes precedence to tracking only. When you start out, you might want to focus on tracking. Although important, the tracking merely informs your spending plan, meaning tracking is needed to have a good plan, but the planning is the goal, not the tracking. Log expenses into your expense tracker as they occur. Double check your bank account at the end of the month to make sure you've captured everything. Don't use cash. As humans, we tend to not track cash well because it doesn't leave a clear record. Rather use a bank card. The trail is much easier to follow than cash. Plan to buy things. Don't buy things without planning. This means saving up for your big purchases or for events like weddings or birthdays. Justifying spending a lot today by promising that you will spend less next month is a hollow promise, and you know it. That doesn't mean you can't have fun. Plan for fun and aspirations. Many people think that well-managed and disciplined finances means you can't have fun or spoil yourself. This is not so. Set aside money for fun things. You can be spontaneous in how you have fun, but not spontaneous in how much you spend. Furthermore, if you're not able to have fun, you will eventually snap and overspend again at some point. Create an emergency fund. Emergencies are good reasons to lose clarity because they are highly emotional events. If you have money set aside for emergencies, you won't find yourself diving into debt or your life savings to save yourself. Don't leave unspent money lying around in your current account. You'll spend it. Rather, create savings accounts for your underspent categories. This means that if you spend no money on auto maintenance this month, set your budgeted amount aside for next month. This way you can buffer month-to-month fluctuations in your budget. When you start reducing your lifestyle, start small and take persistent steps in lowering each individual category. Your expense tracker will highlight these opportunities. How do you cut back? Well, the first measure is to realize that there are good alternatives at lower cost. The next measure is finding a different way of meeting your needs. For example, you go out to the movies every week with your friends. The first step in reducing this expense is going on nights where they have deals. The next more extreme step is to watch rented films at each other's homes. And the final step would be to watch movies at each other's homes that you got for free at the library. Don't spend large amounts or incur debt to switch to cheaper plans. This one is kind of self-explanatory. This one isn't from the book, but it's my advice. Too many people use simple adages like buying cheap is buying twice, and so forth, to justify buying top-of-the-range stuff. The truth is, yes, there is a thing such as too cheap, but middle of the range is where the best value lies. In the book, there are suggestions on how to cut back on each spending category. For example, under groceries, the author advises you to not stock up and gives her reasons for saying so. When you get to repaying debt or investing, pay off debts in amounts that don't gouge your everyday needs. That means don't pay your debts or invest with money that you need for food, shelter, or medical care. Everything should be planned. I've made 2 new tools that can help you allocate your paycheck to bills and invest according to a plan. Stay tuned to the end of the video where I will present these tools. Start today with repaying your loans or investing. You'll eventually learn to control spending, which comes before making big strides in paying off debts or investing. Now for some more philosophical points. Don't focus on the tools or the technology to manage your finances. A paper, list-based system is good enough. That being said, I've made the tools you need and they are downloadable on my website. Fun isn't what you think. Fun brings joy, lightness, freedom, and excitement. Debt and overspending might have these qualities up front, but it is followed by a long tail of anxiety and worry. Deprivation isn't what you think. Many think not going to restaurants or buying new gadgets is what self-deprivation is. What real deprivation is overspending to pay your luxury car payment when you can't afford it, and then finding that you don't have enough money for the groceries. What is really important to you and what is not? Is your new TV more important than seeing the world to you? Are daily takeouts more rewarding than pursuing a project you've always wanted to complete? Playing at that we are richer than we are is what makes us poor. Not flaunting our wealth is what makes us rich. So what will I be doing differently? I will save up for big purchases instead of gouging my emergency fund. This is how I used to pay for big ticket items. I will ask myself what is really important when confronted with the question of whether or not to buy something. It's very easy to lose sight of long-term goals and to justify purchases to yourself. I will create savings accounts for underspent categories. For example, unspent healthcare budget will be saved for a time that I need it. I will use the tools I've made to plan my investments and to allocate my paycheck to bills. That's the end of the debt repayment part of this video. I will now go over the 2 new tools I've made to help myself plan my expenses and plan my investments. I've also updated my old tools to make them more user-friendly, and I've added instructions on how to use them. The first tool is the Bill Planner. I often ask myself, how much money can I invest today? How much can I put away and still have enough cash to cover my bills? With the Bill Planner tool, you first input the amount you'll receive on your next paycheck. Then you input the dates on which you will receive your next 2 paychecks. If you have cash on hand, add it to your paycheck amount. Then proceed to list your bills and expenses. Remember to add in the day of the month on which the bill is due. Cash flow is all about timing, so dates are critically important. The tool will output whether or not you have enough cash to cover your upcoming cash outflows. This first example shows that you have enough cash. The second example shows you don't have enough cash. Notice that the green has turned to red. So why would you use a tool like this? Check out my previous video on cash flow and why it's so important for the answer. My second tool is the Portfolio Balancer. You use this to guide your investing. It's especially useful for those of us who want to keep the weighting in each investment balanced. By inputting what you want in your portfolio in which proportions, it can tell you how much you should invest in each asset to keep your portfolio balanced. You first input the names of your investments and their current values. 0 is also an acceptable value. Next, you input the price per unit and what weight you want this investment to have in your portfolio. Remember, your portfolio weight can't exceed 100%. Your final input is how much money you want to invest now. Your outputs will look like this. It tells you in units and dollars how much of each investment you should make. Note that the total purchase is highlighted in red. This is because the total purchase price exceeds the amount you have to invest. It then comes down to your judgment to decide which investments you should reduce to fit into your budget. And that's a wrap for this month. Even though I use them myself, the tools presented here aren't guaranteed to be accurate. If you notice any errors in the tools or you have questions, you can leave a comment in this video or shoot me an email from the website. I would also love to hear from you if you found these tools helpful or if you use them on a daily basis. So until next time, stay frugal.